And I'm going to really quick kind of give an overview of what's going on in the team right now and Beachbody before I turn it over to our special guest. Before I start, if everyone can make sure you are muted, I'm going to do a mute all right now. Mute all. Continue. Okay, and just in case if you do by chance unmute yourself and you hear me screaming at you, you know to make sure you jump on and mute yourself because we can hear everything that's going on in your house or in your car. So you guys, it is Monday night. It is October 16th. Unbelievable that October is halfway done. Not only do we have a big, huge, mega diamond push going on right now within Diesel Nation, which is going to be outrageous, you guys. It already started today with a bang. Katie Green brought it. One thing I wanted to point out about the push, which we're going to be talking a lot about this in the group, but as a general overview, as we're here on this call tonight, if you're in the push, I want you to be in the push, right? I want you to be 100% focused in that group. And the reason why I say this, because right now in our business, if you haven't realized, there's like a million moving parts that are going on right now, right? We have our team push. We have Clean Week just launched. A bunch of people are heading over to London this week for the launch in the UK. We just had over the weekend a Double Time sneak peek with the launch of Double Time coming. I mean, it's like, right? We're throwing things at you left and right. I want you to stay in your lane. I want you to stay in your lane at this time. Let everything else happen around you. You have to focus on your goals. So if you're in the push, you are in the push, and that is your focus. Your focus is to get to diamond so that we can continue moving up the ladder and into 2018 with a solid team and a solid vision and a solid movement, forward movement. So I want you guys to do that. Be there, be present, engage, and of course take massive action towards that goal that you have for the end of the year. I see a lot of you saying December is going to be your month. That gives me chills down my spine. I am very excited about that. You know, the few of us that are heading over to London, we're going to take the charge on that. We're creating an amazing presentation for our new UK team. We got word today that all of the executives are going to be in our team meeting. We are very, very, very excited about that. And if anyone on this call has any prospects, anyone that they want to invite as a guest to our team meeting, please, by all means, do that. We're gonna start off that presentation with a business opportunity for anyone that's curious about Beachbody. So if you have anyone in the UK that is in London this weekend, make sure that you send them over to us. We'll make sure that they get educated on what we do, and hopefully they'll be one of the founding Diesel Nation UK coaches. How cool is that, right? And like, it's so amazing. Anyway, you guys, you know, before we go on to our guest speaker, who I'll tell you a little funny story about Summit this year, but I just wanted to say that you guys are making me unbelievably proud right now, that not only are you showing up tonight, but you're showing up in your business. We have a lot of coaches in Success Club activity. We know that September was a kind of a really shaky month because of the hurricanes and all the stuff that was going on in the world, but you guys have really picked it up. We are really making an impact in October, and there's still so much time to go. So thumbs up if you're making that commitment to hit Success Club in the month of October, because you guys know what happens, right? November, December, the holidays are coming. Now's the time to start making building those relationships, really being proof the products work, right? Because what are people doing right now? Watching us, because now everyone starts getting their New Year's resolutions in line. So I want you guys to be really focused on your health and fitness right now so that you can, you know, get through October, November, and December and sail into 2018 with a lot of momentum. So let's go to our guest speaker. I don't want to waste any more time. So this summit, I don't know, for whatever reason, they sat Becky and I literally right in front of the stage. I guess because of our last name, Brose and Delgado, we ended up right in front of the stage. And so I think it was Saturday, Becky was getting ready for her panel. So Danny and I are just sitting there by ourselves. and we're listening to general session, and they say, there's a panel coming on, and we're like, oh, great, we get to hear some from some amazing coaches. And here comes Ruth Schrauner, who is, I don't know if you know Ruth the Truth, redhead, beautiful. I think she's ranked number 4 or 5 right now on the network. There's another coach that I don't remember her name. She was fabulous too. But then Moira Kucaba comes out, and I'm like, who's that? Interesting. I've heard of her, but I have never heard her speak. And she sits down, and I'm like mesmerized by her. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, but I want to be your friend because you are so cool. And anyway, she shared so much passion, so much like no nonsense advice at Summit. If you were at Summit, you probably feel the same way. It was such a great panel, one of the highlights for me. And so last week or 2 weeks ago, Doug Moss asked me to participate on a call that Moira was quote unquote going to be on the hot seat, meaning we were able to ask her questions about her business to get insight as to how she's so successful, right? Right now, she's number 9 in the network. She's a 1-time elite coach, obviously going on 2 times. She's advancing diamonds in her personally sponsored business. Her business is growing. And so I came on and I was asking her questions, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. She was on point, and I'm like, I need you to talk to our team. So I messaged her. I'm like, can you talk to Diesel Nation? We need someone like you with your kind of energy to come on and just bless us. So here she is. I'm so excited to introduce to you Moira Kucaba. She is, like I said, going on 2-time elite coach, but number 9 in the network right now, you guys. She's ranked number 9, clearly on her path to being a top 10 coach this year. She signed up in April of 2015, but started her business in July of 2015. So not that long. Like if you consider that compared to me, I became a coach 5 years before she became a coach. To me, what that signifies to you guys is there are people out there that are willing to grow big businesses. We just have to find them. You have to grow a big business in order to find people that are going to grow a big business. So you have to kind of grow into that. So you guys, without further ado, I want to introduce to you Moira Kucaba. Take it away, babes. Wait.
Thanks. I gotcha. Thank you so much, Christina. I mean, to be on this call is like an honor above all honors. I really mean that. And I mean, Christina, you are like a legend to me and somebody that I admire, like in the whole entire network. I mean, you guys are so incredibly lucky to be led by this woman. She is like just somebody, I mean, I could count probably in my top 3 coaches in the whole entire network of the people that I look up to the most, and she's one of them. So to hear you say those things about me is like ridiculously just, I can't believe this is happening. So you guys, I want to share just kind of some different things on really mindset. And I think that's such an overused term because everyone kind of rolls their eyes and thinks like everybody wants to talk about mindset. We hear about mindset all the time. But I really, truly believe that I was telling my son the other day, he was pitching in a baseball game, and I was trying to like drill it through his head. I was like, babe, it is 20% mechanics and 80% what's in your head. Like, and I really believe that's in everything we do in life. Like we can have all the tools, we can have all the strategies, we can have all the top practices, and it doesn't mean anything unless you have the mindset that goes underneath all of that. So I really want to start with just kind of a little bit about my story. So I came into this, I was a business owner. I'd owned a Pilates studio for lots of years, and I sold that. And then I owned a cold pressed juice company, and that business really ran me into the ground, like completely ran me into the ground. And Christina, you'll hear a lot of this because I'm speaking at leadership, which I'm really nervous about. And they really want me to speak on how I was trying so desperately hard to build a brand and a culture and this team and like everything that I wanted to create in the world, I was trying to do all by myself. And the business looked really amazingly successful on the outside. And it literally almost killed me. It almost broke my marriage and messed up my family. Like it left me 2 years into that business, you know, up against the wall, borrowing against our house. And this is a very successful business. But success doesn't look like on the inside, it doesn't look like it does on the outside. And I had so many long hours and days away from my children, and my marriage suffered a lot. And I mean, at the time, looking back, like I had a falling out with my mom. We didn't speak for months because I was so stressed out of my mind trying to keep this business going. And so I got connected with a coach in California, and she invited me to her challenge group. And I said, sure, because I was always just trying to find like a solution, like we all are, to an easier way with health and fitness and nutrition, right? I'd always been in it, but I still always like struggled with the extra 5 to 10 pounds. I always kind of beat myself up at the gym. I was eating paleo because that was the solution. And then it was raw food, and then it was high protein. And then it was like, I was jumping on every bandwagon there was. And I just felt like it was so difficult. And so I became her challenger for a year and a half. And I love that my story is I was the worst challenger in the world. I never showed up in the group. I never participated. And when I look back, I realized like I took from the group. Like it was my saving grace. Like I got in there every day and I read what everybody was posting, and it really helped me, but I was never an active participant. And I like that because it makes me have no qualms about my people that aren't participating, because my story was it saved me. And so my coach always brought up the coaching opportunity to me in a very nonchalant way, just like, girl, with your background, like, why aren't you doing this? And the funny thing is, my coach is Meredith Ganal. She was, 1-2 times elite at that point. She was probably doing exactly what I'm doing right now. And because I was building that business that was running me into the ground, I wanted nothing to do with what she was doing because it looked like a lot. And I was like so turned off. And I thought this was, like everyone else, like I'm never getting involved in a pyramid scheme. I love Beachbody. I love these workouts. I love Shakeology, but I'm never going to be that person. And I wanted nothing to do with it. Like she couldn't convince me, and she didn't really try to convince me. She just, organically kept throwing it out there. And what happened was, at my breaking point of this business, I ran into a very, very, very much hobby coach who was just doing it this much on the side for fun. And I was so broken at that point in my life that I thought, that's what I need. Like, I just need to get a couple girlfriends to do this program with me because I couldn't do it as a challenger. Like, I couldn't show up for myself. And I knew somewhere deep down that if I had to show up for other people, that I would finally show up for myself. And so I decided to become a coach just because I needed something to be fun. I needed an outlet for joy. And I was like, I can do this and just get a couple friends on board, and this will just be fun because I'm so sick of working. And so I did that for a few months, and lo and behold, I saw the miracle happen in my life because I started showing up. I saw the miracle of community. I saw what these programs really do in people's lives. And what happened was, all of a sudden, I was doing the work that I had tried so desperately hard to do my whole life with Beachbody. And I was at that jumping off place where I was terrified of what people were going to think of me. And, I had a reputation as a business owner, and people really looked up to me in the community. I mean, ego this big, and I could never be a Beachbody coach. But it was like, I saw you guys, like I saw people like Christina and Amy and, Melanie, and I saw these women that were powerful women, like living these crazy, awesome lives, inspiring so many people, like doing the work that I always wanted to do. And I came to that jumping off place where I knew if I was going to do this, I wasn't going to be a Beachbody coach and be a cheesy Beachbody coach. Like, I'm 100% in, and I'm going to prove to these people that I'm going to do it and do it well, or I'm not doing this at all. And when I say, like, I'm trying to kind of run through my story, but like, you guys, I walked around in that fear for 3.5 months of just like the devil and the angel, of like God pulling at my heart and me saying, there's no way I'm ever going to do this. No, just back and forth, back and forth. And I finally had to make a decision. And I got on a call, a team call, when I didn't even really know what a team call was. Like, I clicked the link and I was like, whoa, where are all these people? What's going on? And Josh Spencer was he was guest speaking. And I heard his story, and I saw his heart. And I saw his heart and like the way he was able to change his family's life. I mean, this whole journey is like so emotional for me. I like get teary-eyed the whole time. And I was sitting in this chair when I heard his story, and something clicked. And then I also heard the business opportunity, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so my wheels are always turning. And I really didn't know until that night really what the business opportunity was. And I think it was because it wasn't a YouTube video I was watching of some stranger that I kept telling myself, like, they're lying, this isn't true. It was a real person, and I could hear his heart. And I got off that call and I made a decision. And I tell my coaches all the time, you have to just make a decision. Like, that's what it comes down to. There's a moment of decision. Tony Robbins says your destiny is shaped in your moments of decision. And that night I made a decision that changed my life forever. I mean, you guys, this is just 2 years ago. I can't imagine what I'm going to be looking back on in 5. I can't imagine. And so I was at that point where, I chose my dreams over over the fear of what my neighbor was going to think of me, because that's what I was faced with. I felt like God was saying to me, I just gave you everything you've ever wanted, and 10,000 times more now, I see. And you're getting ready to say, I can't do this because of your ego, because of fear, or this is the opportunity that you've always waited for. And so I took a chance and I took a risk, and I started working this business that next day, like a full-time job. And I'm not going to say, I worked it 30 minutes here or there. Like, I attacked it like a full-time job, and I slipped it into every moment I could slip it into. And I kind of became obsessed with like learning it and being good at it and inviting. And, I really and I'm still faced with that fear sometimes with like, when I go to post on social media, I'm still faced with that fear. And what gets me through that fear is that there is me out there somewhere waiting for someone like me to post something that's going to be vulnerable. I mean, when I put income posts out there, that's the scariest thing in the whole entire world. I'm like, I know I'm going to be judged up, down, sideways, left, and right. But you know what? The one life that maybe I can change, because if my coach hadn't walked through the fear and done that for me, and that pushes me through and gets me over the uncomfortability, I mean, we got to get over that. And I mean, we have to focus too. I think this is something and I don't know where everybody is, but in their coaching business, but I invite a lot. And I always love to tell this kind of story about when I work with my new coaches, and I see it all the time. People come in and they're working the business and they're trying really hard and they're putting lots of hours in, and they're putting lots of hours into like Facebook banners and, spending 3 hours creating a social media post. And you can't do that. Like, you have to focus on inviting. You have to focus on talking to people all day long. And that means a lot of people. And so I can remember, and this was probably 6 months into coaching. So I was doing really well and I felt like I had built some momentum. And I remember thinking like I had to get my emotions out of it. I had to get the highs and lows out of it, because that will exhaust you. And I'm a numbers girl. And I remember saying to myself, and I know this sounds crazy, but it takes a little crazy, I think, to push to where we've pushed through to. And I said to myself, you know what? If I invite 300 people, I'll hit Success Club. And it was just like I needed a black and white scenario that I knew was, fail proof. And I started doing that. I started inviting 300 people a month. And that was scary and that was hard and that was exhausting. But every month when I'd see the 0 on the first, I'd be like, oh my God, am I going to hit Success Club again? And I would just tell myself, remember, I know it's a fact. If I invite this many people, I'll hit Success Club. I don't have to invite 300 people. I probably didn't invite 300 people that many months, but the months that I did, I built an incredible pipeline. And the reason I tell you this story is because I always tell my coaches, I really truly believe you have to invite 100 to hit Success Club. And here's the difference with the mindset piece. So my coaches come to me completely deflated, completely like disheartened, wanting to throw in the towel in their business because they've talked to all these people and nobody's saying yes. And I'm like, let me see how many people have you really invited? And it's maybe like 20, maybe like on a good day, it's like 20. And they're like, I've only found one person and I've invited so many people, which is really 20. And I'm like, so I've invited 100 and I have 3. So we have the exact same closing ratio. You're not doing any better than I am. I'm not doing any better than you are. Like I'm just talking to more people. But here's the difference. I'm so freaking excited that I have 3 people that want to start a challenge group, and I'm setting them up with meal plans, and I'm getting them started, and we're talking, and I'm finding out their goals, and I'm on freaking fire about the people, the 3 people that said yes out of 100. And I am so excited that I have 97 people in my pipeline to follow up with next month. Like that is like success. I'm just like, I'm feeling so successful. The same exact person is feeling like a failure because all they're looking at is the negative to that. To me, there is no negative. If you planted 100 seeds, that's a massive amount of success. And I'm telling you, the universe, I love this quote, the universe does not hear what you say, the universe hears what you feel. And when you feel successful and you feel on fire and you're excited about your business and you're excited about your challengers, the universe gives you what you are looking for. It mirrors exactly what you're putting out there. If you're pissed at customer relations or coach relations and you're irritated because this girl just won't say yes, you're not going to get anywhere. You won't. And I see it all the time. I see all my new coaches like bitching about something like the Coach Online Office, the new Coach Online Office. I mean, my threads are like blowing up left and right. And I was like, I'm just like ignoring the Coach Online Office and talking to people on Facebook all day long. Like I just signed up 25 people. What have you got? Oh, you've just bitched all day about the Coach Online Office. Like, we don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time to get wrapped up in any negativity. So like you really, and I when I came in here, you guys, I remember talking to my coach and being like, I just need one person to like complain to. And she's like, no, you don't. Because that does nothing for you. And it certainly doesn't do anything for me. Nothing. And I really realized that. And then my poor husband, I'd put it on him. And I finally got through personal development. Like, that's not really good for my marriage either. You know, like who wants to have either spouse walk in the door and just hear like the litany of complaints about your day? Like, don't give them any airtime. Don't. Like, just move on and focus on the wins, because what we measure, what we focus on expands. And I also have this great, I love, we talked about this a lot in our team, and you can definitely adopt it. Whenever somebody's like dealing with a customer or somebody, I'm like, bless and release, just bless and release, bless and release it. Just let it go, move on to the next one. Because that's the thing, when you're talking to enough people, you're not harping on the 3 people that you're trying to manipulate into saying yes. Like I handle objections, but I don't really push. Because I'm like, you know, I object because I think it's kind of my job to sometimes call people out and stuff and say like, I get that, but you know, you got to think about it this way. Totally cool. I'll circle back around to you next month. Because I'm talking to enough people, I'm not worried about hitting Success Club. But when you're only talking to 3 people and you need those 3 people to say yes, your business is going to get really icky really quick, and people are not going to say yes. So you guys, one of my favorite quotes in the whole world that I read in I read The Go-Giver the first year of my business. It's like just my everything, that book. And it says, your true worth is measured in how much more you give in value than you receive in payment. And I really believe as a leader that if you work from a servant's heart and you just serve the world and you serve your team. I mean, like Christina, can you do my team call? Oh, well, it's Christina Delgado. So yes, I'll do your team call. But like, I can't tell you how many people's team calls I've done, because I know that will come back to me one day. You know, if you just give to the world and on your social media, give value, you're going to be successful. So the other thing, so that's kind of like the mindset I want you to take away from this around inviting customers. I think there's another, like a mindset, a real mindset around inviting to the coach opportunity, because I think people really get stuck on that. That's much harder, I think. Doug Moss always says we get good at inviting customers and signing up customers, and then you get good at signing up coaches. And so I'll never forget, and this, I wasn't even there because I've actually never been to leadership, but I think it was 2 years ago when I first started, somebody said, and Christina, you'll know this, but so I heard this story that at leadership, they walked in, and I might completely have the story wrong, but they walked in and there were 2 tickets on their seats. And there are 2 tickets, and Carl got up and said something like, it's the Go Giver by, I'm thinking How Elrod, it's not How Elrod. Bob Berg, is it Bob Berg? I think the Go Giver. But Carl said to them, you hold the tickets to the 2 biggest problems that face our country: poverty and obesity. Like, how powerful is that? And I get that. And I got it right from the beginning when I was a brand new coach. Coaching is what changed my life. I was a horrible challenger. When I stepped into coaching, my whole entire world changed. So when I invite somebody to be part of this, I feel like I truly believe that I am giving them the ticket to freedom, the ticket to their dreams, the opportunity of their life. Why am I going to tiptoe around that? You know, like this has changed. This has been my everything. It's been the biggest thing that's happened to me in my adult life besides my kids and my husband. And so you have to remember that you are offering them the golden ticket. You know, I started waking up and working out, and I'd always worked out and I'd always read personal development, but something was different. Something was different when I started reading personal development first thing in the morning. Something was different when I stepped into this community that believed in me way before I believed in myself. You know, I had Meredith and Amy telling me, like, you should go for top 10. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it just wasn't even in the realm of my I couldn't have ever seen that for myself. But I had people around me that saw things that I couldn't see. And we get to do that. When people step into this coach life, their whole world opens up. And so I remember my very first coach telling me when I started signing up coaches, she was like, so how do you handle, you know, getting people, like signing them up? Like, what do you say? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not following. Like, I remember the conversation. I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. She's like, well, you know, like you're trying to get them under you. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was honestly like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she was looking at it from like a network marketing, what I'm going to earn off of them. And that just does not even register in my consciousness with this business. Like, it's not about me. It's not about me. This is all about you. And I think that's, again, when you live from a servant's heart and you're bringing them into the coach opportunity for them, not for you. The coolest thing in the world is like, somehow that benefits me. This is crazy. Like, what business is this? You know, it's just amazing how this whole network marketing thing works. I'm still blown away that like I get to derive something off of something that somebody else does. It's crazy. And so I think a lot of times my coaches in that first year were like, Moira, how are you signing up all these coaches? What are you saying? And they kept asking me. And sometimes you don't know what you're doing because it's just what you do. And I realized after a long time of them asking me that they were kind of presenting the business opportunity, you know? And I was like, oh, good Lord, what are you guys doing? I realized like what I do is this. When anyone in my town wants to meet or talk coaching, I'm like, let's grab coffee. It happened today. You know, I worked like a dog at my computer to the point where like I couldn't see straight. And I'm like, oh my God, this job is so freaking hard. You know, it's hard. It's a lot. And then I was like, I had to like run out the door as fast as I could to meet somebody at the coffee shop. And that's my happy place. Like, to get out of the house and meet someone face to face. I will meet anybody, any day, all day long. And I even came back, and I have a coach visiting who's staying with me. And I told her, I said, you know, it's such a gift. And I never walk into that situation thinking I need to sign you up. I think, how lucky am I that this is my job? I could care less if you sign up. I just got to sit down with this amazing woman and just shoot the breeze for an hour and talk about what's important in the world and changing lives and what's going on in her life and what's going on in my life, and just this powerful, deep conversation. Like, that is so life-giving to me. It doesn't matter if I sign her up, but what do you think happened? She signed up, And so what I realized my coaches were asking me, like, what do you say to these people? I just share my story. I share exactly what happened and how on fire I am about this and how much it's changed my life and how much I've seen it change other people's lives. And I kid you not, if it's a coach opportunity coffee, today wasn't. Today was like an old friend kind of catching up. And of course, she signed up as a challenger because she was so fascinated by the whole thing. And but if it's a coach opportunity and I'm really telling them about coaching and my story about coaching, I mean, it brings me to tears every time. It brings them to tears most every time. And we walk away, and I kid you not, I always laugh because I say 9 times out of 10, they probably don't know what the heck they're getting themselves into, but they're like, sign me up. Give me what she has, And so it's this passion and this emotion. It's not a PowerPoint presentation on Team Cycle Bonus. Like, they'll get that somewhere else. It's just the human connection. And that's what's going to drive people to you. I had all these notes and I haven't even looked at them because I just kind of seem to get on a roll. So, here's the thing about that. You're not going to feel that all the time. You're not going to feel on fire. You're not going to feel passionate every moment. You're not going to be in love with this business every minute. I mean, I am most all the time, but I have a splitting headache and I got to go to a coach opportunity coffee. What do you think I'm doing? I'm popping some Advil and I'm like pumping Girl on Fire, like on my way there. Because like, I got to get myself into state. Like, I don't know if anyone's done a lot of Tony Robbins work, but like, I really even believe that 100% when you're behind the computer and you're irritated and you have a headache and you're screaming at your kids and you're sending out invites, no one is going to say yes. Because that energy comes through one way or another. So you've got to kind of prime your state. I mean, that's a whole nother call. But like, I wake up every single morning. My morning process is like, it's as vital to me as water. No exaggeration. Like, my morning process, and it's not complicated. It's not anything in depth. It's like gratitude. It's just getting whatever I can do to get myself into a physically feeling a higher vibration, like positive place. Reading something out of a book, listening to some music, doing a gratitude meditation, looking at my vision board, just something. Tony Robbins I love because this is something that I kind of adopted. And then before I'd heard him that he was doing it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, my morning process is the same as Tony Robbins. So he says 3-3-3, 3 minutes of gratitude, 3 minutes of prayer for other people, because we all need to get out of ourselves more, and 3 minutes of visualization. And I think visualization is absolutely key. And that's a lot of what I talked about at Summit, that every single day I wrote out my vision in the very beginning, and I don't want you to overthink that. I want you to take pen to paper tonight and just let it go. Like, it doesn't have to be, this is not about perfection. It can be on a scrap sheet of paper. Just what I heard was, if you had no financial limitations or time limitations, what would your life look like? Ask yourself just those 2 simple questions, or that 1 simple question. What would you create? Christina's created a life that is by design, that she designed. I've created a life by design. So if you had no financial limitations or no time limitations, if you had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, what would your life look like? What would you do? Would you like build a school in Africa? Would you travel the world? Would you, what would you do? And that this opportunity is your gateway, is your path to that. And I got that. And I read that vision every freaking day, every single day. I put that notebook in my carry-on when I go on a trip. It goes with me everywhere I go. I read it probably 5 or 6 days a week. It doesn't always happen 7. And that is what gets me to do the work every single day. And I also love to share the story that, you know, I have friends when I got here who, like, I remember I had one girlfriend who, I mean, I got to know her through coaching, and her husband was in the military. So he's overseas, you know, life is at risk. And all she wants to do is work her Beachbody business to the point where she can bring him home. That's a really powerful why. And I felt like I needed a why like that. My why is nothing like that. My why is 2 pages, and it talks about the relationship I have with my husband, the kind of kids I'm raising, the house I live in, my business goals, the business relationships that I have. Like, it's everything intertwined. Like, there's no big thing. But here's the difference. And I think, I see this because that girl that I'm talking about whose husband's away in the military, she's struggling in her business. And my business is really successful right now. And I think the difference is that I see my vision and I read it every single day. Like, it's right here. I think she thinks she knows hers, but if you're not reading it and feeling the reality of what you want, you're not going to be motivated to do the work. You're not going to be motivated to show up. What I want for me and my family and my team, I want so desperately that I am willing to put in hard work every single day. Every single day. So you've got to do that. That was kind of one of the last things I wanted to talk about. But the other thing I want to touch on is limiting beliefs, because again, I don't know where everybody is in their business, but I know when I got here, I had so many limiting beliefs that I could never do this, that I couldn't be successful. I had the limiting belief that I was too old, because I saw Amy Silverman's team and they were all like 22, and Bonnie Engel, and like I saw a lot of young girls like crushing it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. Like, I don't think I can do this. And I will never forget. And, you know, if you look at the top 10 coaches, it doesn't matter who. I think they switch around all the time. But anytime you look at the top 10, there's one of them that will just smash to smithereens any limiting belief you have. I don't have a network. I don't have the background. I don't have the body. I don't have the whatever. Like, there's somebody in the top 10 that had that exact same reality and obviously got to top 10. And so you got to kind of get to know these coach stories too. And I'll never forget at my first summit, Amy's my upline, and she was on stage, you know, like her fabulous self, like, and she's 6 feet tall and she had like 6-inch heels on. And I'm suffering from like oh my gosh, I'll never be like Amy Silverman. Like, how am I ever going to be that, you know? And I was feeling that. And she said, the Amy Silverman you see on stage is completely unlike the Amy Silverman that walked in these doors 5 years ago. And these words were next out of her mouth. She said, I created her. And I was like, holy, that's powerful. I get to create whatever I want to create. And I can tell you guys, 2 years ago, I sat here and did my first video like this, like didn't move my body, barely move my mouth. I'm Moira Kucaba. I'm a Beachbody coach. Like, it was horrible. You know, like I didn't have a snap-on diva light on my computer. Like, it was terrible. You know, we all start really bad, you know, and you just organically get better because you surround yourself with the winners, you know, surround yourself with the people that are doing well. I think one of the other things I did in the beginning was I watched a lot of top coach success stories or top tips from all these top coaches. And so I was really learning from the best of the best. I wasn't learning from the coaches that were necessarily right around me. Like, I was learning the best of the best, you know, and I was adopting their practices into my life. And so you have to remember that this is not based on your personality. I can be really like talkative on, you know, here, like Christina's getting ready to see me at leadership, and I'll probably be like shrinking because like being on stage is not my jam. But it's not your personality. It's not your expertise. Your effort and your consistency is what's going to make you a badass in this business. That is what's going to build your success. You know, consistency will trump greatness every day of the week. And somebody can step into this business with all the background and all the looks and all the toolkit and all the, you know, the market, whatever. And you're going to crush it more than them if you're consistent. You just got to be consistent. I mean, it's the compound effect. It was the first book that I ever read, and it's like shifted my mindset like 180 degrees. And then I stepped into coaching and I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything. Like the compound effect in this business, it's just, it is what it is, you know? So you've got to remember that. I think one of the other things that's really important to remember is that we can talk about all this stuff, but it's really important that this all really points back to one thing I've already talked about, but two things, I think. And that is your personal journey and your vision. So let me just touch on the personal journey thing, because I know this is really like kind of big ideas, and I'm not talking to you about like my tracking system and all this other stuff you might want to know about. Trust me, I don't really have a tracking system. So we don't want to talk about that. But if you are not dialed in on your personal journey, your business is not going to do well. And my personal journey, like everybody else's, goes up and down and up and down, but my business like mirrors that wave. You know, when I'm on fire about how I feel and my nutrition and my results, my business is killing it. When I'm overeating and not really dialing in my containers and slacking off on my workouts, my business tanks. So when you have a coach that is struggling and you're thinking as their leader, how do I help them as their upline? What do I tell them? How do I solve this? What pointers do I give? Maybe I should tell them to track their this, or maybe I should tell them to invite more people. Ask them about their personal journey, because I can guarantee you that's what's suffering. And if you just step in as their coach in their personal journey, their business will take off. And so that other piece we've already talked about is vision. Vision is everything for me. It's everything. And I do, and I think I did share about this at Summit. So when I didn't even know what Summit was, I hadn't even been to Summit, I decided to write down on my vision that I was what did I write down? I'm a top 10 2017, fingers crossed on that one, top 10 2017 superstar diamond coach. And then it says on stage at Summit. And for some reason, crazy reason, it says in parentheses, interview/panel. And you guys, when they called me 5 months ago and said, we'd like for you to speak at Summit, not in a workshop, we want you to speak in the Superdome. I mean, I about fell out. But like for them to say then, you're actually going to be on a panel. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I've read that sentence probably 500 times. 500 times. And so again, that's consistency. I didn't read that vision 3 times. I didn't do all the work and write out the vision and stick it in a drawer. Because we do a lot of work and then we put it on a shelf. Vision is one of those things that you have to do day and night. Something I just did for the first time. I've always written my vision. I think the written word just for some reason speaks to me more. I did a vision board because I just did a vision board workshop because that's always my freemium. Whenever I need to do something for myself, I'm like, I'm going to run a free group because I need to do this. So I ran a vision board group and I did a vision board. And so now I really feel like I bookend my day because I wake up and I read my vision and I have my morning process. But that vision board is right when I turn the light out at night. And I just pause and it's 12 pictures. And I look at every picture and I just soak it in. And then I turn out the light and I go to bed. You've got to hold those visions so near and dear to your heart and see them and feel them all the time. That's what's going to make you get up and do the work. And without that vision, I would never show up. I just wouldn't. I just don't think I would. I know it's 9:44. I didn't even ask you how long this call was. I hope it wasn't like 30 minutes.
No, you're fine. I mean, just the comments, everybody's like, this call is everything. On our team pages, it's like, this is what we needed. So, I mean, I have to say that this was it was beautiful, beautiful call. Very, very, very helpful. I have a funny thing that happened to me just like 2 weeks ago. I have this bad problem of every time I host a call like this, I sit and I regurgitate everything that the speaker said. I repeat it. And Sagi and Barbie Kalev, they spanked me so hard for doing that. They were like, no, they heard it already. You have to let it go. So that's what I'm going to do tonight, because there's no way that I could possibly do justice to what Moira just shared with you guys. I hope that you guys not only, I have 2 pages worth of notes here, not only let that sink in, but take what she said and put it into action instead of just letting it make you feel good for tonight. Because everything that was shared tonight is how you build a business. And I want you guys to understand that. So Moira, I can't thank you enough for sharing your heart and your passion for this business. I feel it. And when I feel that coming from someone, I know that they're going to do big things because other people feel that too. Do you guys feel that? Right? So you need to get into that space that Moira's in, that space of this business is a blessing. I mean, I do have one question for you because I think it's important for everyone to hear, but I just want to highlight that you guys, you have to get in that space of, I need to share this with everybody. But the question is, you said one thing, you said, why tiptoe around the opportunity? Which I think everybody on this call would agree. Like, why do we tiptoe around the opportunity when it's so amazing? Now, we're all on different levels, right? We have some new coaches here. We have some coaches that are making a few bucks every month. We have coaches that are making some nice incomes. And then we have some coaches that are making, full-time, very life-changing incomes on our team. But which is where you are right now, right? So when you weren't there, when you were a newer coach, kind of working your way towards diamond, but you still had that vision, how would you not tiptoe around the opportunity? Like, what were you sharing? What were you talking about? Were you doing those coffee chats? Give us insight to who you were in, let's say, 2015 when you started working the business and how you wouldn't tiptoe around the opportunity, like some examples.
Yeah. So that's a great question, because I even have my coaches now say, well, I haven't been on all these trips, or I don't earn what you earn. And I'm like, oh, I was the exact same passion 2 months into the business, because what changed for me was, I would share things like, when I came into this coaching opportunity, I'd always worked out and I'd always kind of been into self-help, spiritual, whatever, but something was different. All of a sudden it was my job and it was my responsibility to show up for other people. And to do that and to be people's cheerleader is the greatest feeling in the freaking world. And I would wake up with this fire for my work. And I was a different person. I became a different mom. I became a different wife. Reading personal development changed everything for me. And so I was different. My marriage changed. This lighting's all weird. Sorry, guys, the light's in the back. Everything changed before the income changed. And so I was able to share that. I transformed as a human being more on the inside because I didn't have a physical transformation. And I didn't let that stop me and say oh, I don't have a physical transformation, I can't be successful in this business. I was a completely different person. And I remember a friend of mine who moved out west, so we hadn't seen each other. She was just seeing something on social media. She called me and she said, Dave and I were talking, her and her husband, and they owned a gym here and they own lots of gyms on the West Coast. And I knew them through that relationship. And they said, she's like, Dave and I were just what is she doing? What is going on in her life? Something is different. She's like, it's like you just came to life and your light was just shining so bright. None of that had to do with money. That had to do with what was happening on the inside, what was happening in my relationships. I was showing up every day so happy and excited to do this work and so excited to be in this community and just on fire with this work. And so it wasn't about the income. It was about the change that happened in me, and people saw that. And that's what I shared with people. But I also shared where I wanted to go, and I shared what other people were doing. And I shared with them that the belief that I had, that I think that I can do that. I think that's where I'm headed. Come with me. Let's link arms and do this together. Let's go. And I still feel that way because I feel like I've just started. Barbie always reminds me I'm a baby coach. She's like, oh, you're just a baby coach.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they have her and Sagi were like on fire today. I was like, whoa. But so that was perfect, and I hope the message was, I'm not gonna repeat it. I swear to God, I'm not gonna repeat it. I hope the message was heard, because that's it. That's it. You want to hear the secret sauce? You just did. You just did. One thing that I've been super passionate about lately is, growing into your goals, and you just kind of summarized that really perfectly. If you have a goal, whatever the goal is, whether it's satisfaction of a rank or income or a why that's so powerful or whatever it is, you cannot stay the same person you are today to achieve that. Do you guys realize that? You cannot stay the same person. Go ahead.
I will drive that point home, because so I've had this thing rolling around in my head since Summit, and it's really been rolling around in my head as I'm making the speech for leadership about how we think this is hard, right? Like, you guys, I've walked through alcoholism, addiction, losing my sister. Like, I've walked through some really tough stuff. This job is not hard. Like, sitting at my computer inviting people as I'm like sipping on sparkling water, is not hard. So I have to check myself sometimes, though, when I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I'm like, get over your damn self, Moira. Like, this is not hard. It's a lot and it's exhausting, but it's not hard. And I know where I'm going. And when I think like this is so much, would I think that if I was making $1 million? Because I know that's where I'm going. Mm-hmm. And this would not be a lot of work. And your work has to match where you're going. Yep. If your work matches your income today, you will never get anywhere. And here's another, like, talk about visualization and like owning where you want to be. So this was just a funny thing that happened this past week. So, I'm not going to go into like exactly what I make, but I make what I make. Just let's say for just purposes of this example, say I make $10,000 a month. Okay. And I'm always thinking like that should be doubled by next year or tripled maybe. So I'm thinking like, so if I'm making $10,000 a month, next year I'll be making like $25,000 a month. So in my mind, I'm like, I make $25,000 a month. And that's how I show up to my business. My husband needed to know my year to date for taxes. And because it's like increased so much since January, he like saw the number, or he showed me the number, and I was literally like, that's not right. And he's like, yeah, it is. I was like, no, that's not right. Like, I totally argued him, because like in my head, I make about 5 times amount of more than the reality of this year, simply because I work to where I'm going. And I really, truly believe that, I times my salary this month times 12. I don't average what I made in January, So my reality, what I really believe is the work, is the ethic that I put in every single day. So it's like I'm working at the level 10 times further than where I'm actually am. But that's the only thing that's going to get me there. So you really have to ask yourself that question. If you think you're building a 6-figure or a 7-figure business, did you show up today like a 6-figure or a 7-figure earner? Because if I think I'm going to make 7 figures one day, like today was an exhausting day. Is it a 7-figure day? Like, whoa, maybe not. Maybe I should have worked a little harder. You know what I mean? Like, you got to realize where you're going, and what you're doing is not that much for where you can get to.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Amen, sister. I think I got to leave that right there. Like, just drop that, like right there. I heard a line like that early on in my business that changed my life. So I hope that line was it for you. You guys, I'm closing this call right there, because I think that's a perfect ending. Moira, I can't thank you enough. I can't wait to see you in Las Vegas. We're going to have some coffee in Las Vegas, that's for sure. Or maybe a drink. I don't know. I can drink in Las Vegas, so maybe we'll be having you guys, I hope you have a great night. Let's have a great week. Let's take everything we learned today and put it into action. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye, everybody. Good night. Mwah. Bye.
Bye, guys.